Okay, so a new beginning. 1111. So let me first start by saying that there are. So I worked. The gentleman who owns numerologist.com came to me about 9 years ago. He knew and heard of my abilities. By the way, just for those of you who don't know, I am a highly sensitive empath. I have a heightened degree of intuition, and I've worked on it for about 25 years or more, actually. I have used that intuition and that empathy in order to build myself an amazing business. I am in the marketing industry, and what you and I think is commonplace, where you're like, hey, this person feels that way and this person feels that way. You know how you can do that? That's so rare. I mean, like literally, it's so rare. Nobody can really do that. We're a very exceptional group of people that can perform that task. So I would sit in these meetings with people, and I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know what your customers are thinking? It's evident. You're writing all of these things. They're going to experience this while they're looking at your stuff." Well, lo and behold, it's not common sense as I thought it was. It turns out it's an extra sense and extrasensory perception that you have. Most likely, if you're here, you have that same ability as me. Um, and in fact, some of you may not even necessarily be at the point yet where you've figured out how to really wrangle that down. So what I want to first begin with is telling you why I started this site. I started my Manifested Life to teach people what I had been learning for quite some time, which is that manifestation isn't necessarily what we were told, and we're going to go through and between Sue and Tiffany and myself, we're going to show you some tools and give you some resources so that you can hopefully start to create the life that you really want. So actually, I should probably not go there just yet. So manifesting life you were born through conscious awareness of what you're manifesting is the important part. So first, I'm going to begin with what we were told manifestation is. So in the movies, we hear that manifestation is about boats, cars, jobs, relationships, health, um, homes, lovers, attract the woman of your dreams or the man of your dreams, do all this stuff, vacations, destinations, and lifestyles. Like everyone wants to convince you that manifestation is all about stuff. And I'm here to tell you, and that it's not about stuff. Stuff happens, and stuff is a reflection of your manifestation ability, but it's not what manifestation is about. So what I want to first share with you is what manifestation actually is. And it is the mirror of the self journey, the journey to discovering self. Manifestation is a series of relationship mirrors that will reveal themselves to you if you're ready to pay attention. Manifestation is about surrender and acceptance, literally surrendering the ego and the small self and accepting the grand plan and accepting the things that are, right? Um, Manifestation is about learning messages from our pain. Our pain is one of our greatest teachers, and Tiffany's going to cover a lot of this with you today. Well, as much as she can in her short 20 minutes. So we're going to do our best. And then everybody, you'll get some gifts from Tiffany and Sue, and I'm going to show you how you can keep in contact with them after the fact. And nothing, again, to be clear, nothing is for sale here. You're just here to enjoy yourself, and hopefully will help you experience a new beginning. Manifestation is also about uncovering the truth about love. What is love? What is the truth of love? Because our perception of love and the Disney version of love and the portrayed version of love that is handed down to us via media and television, it's not actually love. But we'll talk a little bit more about that, hopefully, while you're still here. Manifestation is also about clearing out our false and limiting beliefs, belief systems that have been ingrained again by parents and society epigenetically. There's so many places we can go with this that it's beyond measure. Manifestation is also about your world reflecting back to you. That's an important point. It really is about the world showing you where you are so that you can understand where you need to go and where you want to go, right? And you can have that better, more conscious expression of your manifestation ability. And really, this is the one that summarizes everything. Manifestation is the external expression of your innermost thoughts. I want that to sink in. It is the external expression of how I swore I wasn't going to use this headphone, but it's my favorite headphones. I'm so sorry, guys. So that might happen from time to time. I apologize. It is a literal expression of it's an external expression of your inner reality. So if your inner reality is, hey, it's this and this and that, that's what you're going to see in the world. And I'm going to bastardize this, but I think it was, I forget who, I'm sorry. They said the most important thing we can do is to become aware of our view of the world. That is the single greatest responsibility that we have as a human being, is to understand and to adjust our view of how the world is. Do we see the world as a safe place, or do we see the world as a not so safe place? And that will help to dictate everything that we perceive in our reality. Okay. So I'm going to keep going here. So a little bit about me. This is a little cloud thing that I did of some photos that I found on my Facebook that are, things that are important to me. The top left one is me speaking. The one on the top right is me and a couple of my friends, a practicing expert alchemists, actually, both of them. One of my old best friends that I'm flipping off the camera. That's one of my cars, my Volvo. And license plate says I love you, because I just love everyone. It doesn't matter who they are. One of my favorite artists, Mike Love, it just happens to be that he has that cool last name. My family's in the bottom left and the bottom right, and just me eating rainbows and just having a good time. I'm a big fan of psychology, spirituality, family, fun, romance. I'm a scientist. I love science. This is why Tiffany and I get along so well. She is an actual scientist. I'm a couch scientist, which I love. I think there needs to be a lot more sofa scientists. I love data. I love consciousness. I love God. I love being love. I've played around with all the different archetypical expressions of myself, and being love is my favorite. I appreciate that one. That's the wrapper I choose for this being that is Mike. Okay. I love learning, growth. I love being a fool. I mean, I am just the biggest idiot on the planet. And then I'm also the biggest genius on the planet. I love being both. I love the full expression of my humanity. I love being a father, a husband, and I do consider myself to be the luckiest man alive. I am lucky. Yes, there are people who have more than me. There are people who have less than me. It doesn't matter. I am the luckiest man alive. So it's a little bit about me. Today, you got 3 great speakers. You got me, which I am a great speaker. It's been very, very difficult for me to own that label. It's very difficult for me to say anything about myself that's positive, and has been for a long time. But it is very, very important that you start to realize you are beautiful and you are brilliant. And when you can say that you are those things, it really starts to help you change and shift who you are outside as well as inside. Okay. So I am a great speaker for you. I'm going to be here to help you as much as I can. Our second great speaker is Tiffany Bersotti. She is been one of my greatest teachers the last, I think 6 or 7 years we've been friends. She's amazing. She's going to talk about, well, you can see all the content here. I'm not going to read it all because I've already been rambling too much. And then Sue is going to go over some amazing stuff. Sue brings ancient wisdom to our portfolio. Tiffany has studied a ton of ancient religions and ancient philosophies and principles. She's a master of chakras and measurement devices. And I mean, I will give you her bio later. Actually, I had to print it out because it's intense. But the point being, you have some amazing speakers. So hang in there as long as you can. If you do have to drop off, again, relax. Know that it's okay. We have the recordings. You can go back through and consume the recordings later. Honor yourself first and foremost, and we'll make sure that we are always honoring you as well. Okay. All right. Wonderful. I'm really glad that you found us too. Thank you so much. I'm really, really excited that you're here. So let's talk a bit about relationships. So as I mentioned, or you saw before, I'm going to talk about, I'll just tell you what I'm going to cover real quick since I'm going to move into it. Relationship meanings, healthy versus codependent relationships, repair or retreat in a relationship, your partnership plan, why relationships fail, and the parenting message. Okay. So let's talk about relationships first. So relationships are everything. There is nothing that is not a relationship, because the word relationship really means the interaction between the self and the other. So there is only you as yourself, and then everything else is the other, right? Including the multiple selves, but Tiffany can talk more about that later, but or when it's the appropriate time. See, this is where you get a chance to be like, oh, thank God he stopped talking for 5 seconds. Everything is a relationship. Nothing is not. Okay. So the world is a relationship, your partner, your family, your spouse, your child, your career, it's all a relationship. Relationships are a mirror for the self. They're a reflection of your inner truth. Okay. Now, what that really means is some of us can be in challenging relationships, but those challenging relationships may or may not necessarily be challenging because of the partner. Most of the time, that's just a pure reflection of where we stand and who we are. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. But they are definitely a reflection of your current inner truth. Remember, you're a growing and evolving being, or you wouldn't be here. So truth is a variable. So today, you might think this is true. In a week, a whole new set of circumstances and realities become true for you. Okay. Relationships also for our inner discovery and revelation, so that we can determine what's next for us. And as a soul living a human experience, the relationships become our window into what the soul craves next. So when I look at all the relationships in my reality, I always ask myself, am I being triggered by this relationship in some way? And if I am, what's the lesson for me in that triggering? And I'm just dead honest with myself, everyone. I mean, I am dead honest. I'm like, man, I am being triggered right now by you in this conversation so much. Or I'm like, okay, perfect example. Rosie Perez. She's an actress. You guys know who Rosie Perez is? I don't know if you know who Rosie Perez is. Yeah, you know who she is. Yeah, she's an actress. Man, Rosie Perez used to trigger the heck out of me. I had such a hard time with Rosie Perez. She had that super annoying voice and it was bothersome for me and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's a judgment in that. Even though I'm not in a relationship with Rosie Perez. Oh, shoot. Yeah, did somebody start the recording? I'm so sorry. Thank you guys for mentioning that. My goodness, somebody's going to kill me. Hang on, guys. Let me make sure I can fix this up real quick. If I didn't start recording. Oh, somebody did. Good. Thank you. I got scared. No. All right, cool. I'm going back. All right, cool. So the point I'm getting at is I had to inspect why I was triggered by that relationship. My mother, she can't watch comedy shows very well at all. She does not like comedy shows. She judges the comedians and the actors. So there's learning and education in those things that we judge and in the relationships with everyone else. So we get to really think about all of relationships, not just as some other person and what that other person is doing to me, but really what is the value of this relationship, or what is the lesson? And sometimes it's, hey, get over yourself, and other times it's, you need to set proper boundaries because you're being taken advantage of. Okay. So let's talk about unhealthy relationships for just a second. So many people think that that relationships are supposed to last forever, but that's because that's what Disney told us. Disney says when you get into a relationship, if you leave that relationship, you're a jerk because you left it. Guess what? You wouldn't read the same chapter of a book over and over and over again, would you? You would want to continue reading and finishing the book. And guess what? We unfortunately treat relationships the same way. Sometimes if you're in a relationship that is just rereading the same chapter of the book over and over and over again, that could be unhealthy. Your soul's here to grow. You want it to grow, don't you? So if so, then maybe don't keep rereading the same chapter over and over and over again. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the other person's responsibility or fault. It just means that you're in a loop that you need to figure out why you're in that loop, and you need to get the heck out of it so that you can stop reliving the same chapter of the book over and over and over again. And that chapter may have been entitled, My Mom Treats Me Like Crap, or it may have been, My Father is Absent, or the chapter of the book may have been called whatever. You get it, right? Are you rereading the same chapter in the relationships in your life over and over and over again? Is the relationship asking, or in the relationship, are you asking to be abused, shamed, or diminished? Now, maybe because you're still rereading a chapter that says, Mom says I'm not good enough, or Dad thinks that I'm not smart enough, right? I share with you everything in my head, Jessica. Jessica says Mike lives in my head too much. I live in my own head and I jump in everyone else's too. So I'm super excited to be able to share with you all of these things that I've had to figure out for myself too. Like literally, if you've gone through the course I'm like, where are my other headphones right now? Um, if you've gone through the course at all, you know that I talk openly about my loops with my wife, where I would approach her at times when she couldn't possibly reciprocate the love because I was playing out a rejection loop. Not healthy. Next, looking for someone to be something they're not. If you got into a relationship with somebody you met at a bar and you are upset at them after 2 years that they're drinking, guess what? That's not their fault. It's yours. You found a drunk, you married a drunk, and now you're angry that you married a drunk. That's not the drunk's fault. It's your fault. So don't try to convince someone to be something that they're not, right? And that was from Wayne Dyer. I mean, so correct and such a great influence in my life. So next is being asked to be something that you're not. That's unhealthy for you, right? You really want to be able to be in a relationship where you don't ask someone to be something different and you're not asked to be different. You just simply are. And in your are, you appreciate each other for that exact moment of where you are. Okay. Next is being judged or judging others for being where they are or where you are. Right. So, as an example, my husband, I talked a friend off the cliff. He was like, man, I'm going into this spiritual journey. It's amazing. My wife doesn't want to go there with me. And she's like, not there. And I think I need to get a divorce. I'm like, dude, do not get a divorce. What the hell is wrong with you? Just because your woman doesn't want to follow you into this journey that you're going down, do you follow her when she wants to start crocheting? No. This is a passing thing for you right now. You know what they say, I forget the term, but it's a literal thing that says before enlightenment or before spirituality or enlightenment, carry the water, chop the wood. After spiritual enlightenment, carry the water, chop the wood. It's going to be the same. It doesn't matter. Don't throw somebody to the curb just because you judge them for not being where you are, because you don't want that pushed on you. Don't push it on somebody else. It's not right. Okay. So those are some examples of unhealthy relationships. So the question, repair or retreat, right? That's a big one we get a lot. Okay. This is an incredible and important thing. Is this relationship hurting me? Okay. Now there's qualifications to that because you may be oversensitive. Maybe everything hurts you, or maybe you're triggered around this person because you haven't figured out which chapter you're rereading over and over again, like I just mentioned a moment ago. So it'd be important for you to really take a moment to say, am I truly being hurt by this? Or am my feelings being hurt because I want this person to treat me differently than they are, but I'm treating them exactly the same way that I don't want to be treated? That's a tough one to come to terms with. But I'm telling you guys now and openly, this is truth. Okay. You might be being hurt, but you have to ask yourself, am I just overly sensitive? Or am I being, and this is not a question any of us can answer for you. This is the only question you can answer for yourself as you start digging deeper. Next, have I set and kept proper boundaries? Right? I mean, this is important. Have you set proper boundaries? Are you keeping those boundaries? Are you literally saying, hey, I don't want you to do this, but then once they do it, oh, it's okay, honey, don't worry about it. No, it's not a problem. Don't worry about it. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. No, set and keep your boundaries. They're important for you. You have to have them. And then, of course, and follow to that, are you honoring their boundaries? Okay. Are you actually honoring the boundaries that's your partner in the relationship? And keep in mind, we're not talking about just intimate physical relationships. We're talking about all relationships, your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your careers, your relationship with your friends. Are you setting and honoring boundaries? Okay. They're important. Now, next is, what would you advise your child to do? This is an important one for most of the women in the audience. I have frequently seen two sets of rules. There's the I can take it rule, and there's the rule of what I want my child to take. So ask yourself, if you have children, what would you teach your child to do? How would you advise your child in this situation? And how could you honor yourself the same way you would honor your own child? That's important, okay? And then what have I learned from this situation? If you leave a relationship and you haven't figured out what you learned from it yet, it's going to just show up in a new face, a new person or a new career or a new whatever. Yeah, literally have to sit and say, what did I learn from it? There's an old adage in the Bible, and I'm going to mess this one up too. But a woman walks up to Jesus, and I'm paraphrasing her, obviously. She's like, you must heal me. This has been horrible, and I can't stand this disease anymore. And Jesus turns to the woman and says, Cliffhanger, right? Jesus says to the woman, "What did you learn?" And the woman says, "Nothing. I hate this. This is horrible." Then he says, "Then I can't help you." So you have to literally decide for yourself, what did you learn from it? And if there's nothing learned, it's just going to keep showing up. Once you've learned, then you can move on. So next thing is, what do I want? Sorry, your partners, okay? Your partnership plan. This is something that I just was thinking about, I don't know, not recently. And I'm like, you really should have a partnership plan. So when you're in a partnership in a relationship with a partner, what do you want out of the relationship? Define it, right? What do you really want from it? Be aware of the loops that exist, right? So your subconscious and your consciousness has to say, hey, you know what? I'm just rereading that same chapter that says, hey, mom, treat me like shit. Dad, tell me I'm stupid. Um, are you subconsciously asking that from your partner? And did you, and not verbally, did you at some point in time agree that that's what you wanted from that partnership, and now you don't want it anymore? When I realized this lesson, I turned to my wife and I said, baby, I love you, but I can't do this anymore. She was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I can't keep living these loops anymore like this. I'm going to stop having you fulfill my loops, and I'm going to really take a moment to think about what loops I'm fulfilling for you. And I had to realize how much I was rejecting my own wife. What a jerk. I had no idea. But once I become aware, I'm like, oh my God, I'm an ass. I can't do this anymore. This isn't right. I can't do these things any longer. So, and I told my wife, I'm like, if you need this, if you still want to relive these loops, it won't be with me. Just know that I'm not going to do that for you anymore. I'm going to try like hell to be a better husband for you, and I mean it, and I meant it. So I'm like, you have to do that for yourself. What do you actually want? Not what are you saying you want. What are you thinking deep inside that you actually want? Okay. Next, what if I didn't judge this person? Right? What if you just didn't judge them? What if you didn't judge anything that they did anymore? What if you just love them for who they are, exactly who they are? I'll tell you what, you do this, changes everything. Everything you do. Um, Everything you perceive. It's a longer story. I don't have time for it today. But next, what are they getting from me? The bad and the good. Like I told you a moment ago. What is your spouse getting from you in that equation? Okay. Um, am I living their love language? Or if you're familiar with love languages, it's an amazing book. Are you helping your partner by giving them love in a way in which they can see, receive, appreciate, and internalize it? Ask yourself that question. Um, if you haven't studied love languages, we mentioned it a bunch in the course, but it's also, you could just Google love languages, and it's really easy to have you, your partner, your children take it, so you can start communicating with them in a way that actually has meaning for them. Because you may be somebody who appreciates words of affection or physical touch. That's me, that's mine, by the way. But your partner may be someone who wants, quality time, or, um, uh, acts of service, and or gifts, right? And you're sitting here saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. They're sitting there going, oh my God, I just wish you would give me a gift. Well, gifts may be the first thing from your mom, but they're the first thing on theirs. So start thinking about how you could be a better partner, right? How can you actually really care about making sure that your partner has a great, great experience with you? Also, what is their dominance factor saying? This is an important one, because if I didn't get this until recently. I took a psychology class. I follow synchronicities. They drive my life. I end up in this psychology class at our local college. Turns out I'm actually there with an amazing expert, and she's talking about left brain dominance and ear dominance and hand dominance. And I'm learning all these things about how in times of stress, I actually can't hear what's being said. I only perceive the pattern that exists. So my wife can be sitting there talking to me about stuff, and she's saying things, and while I'm hearing her and I can parrot back the words, they're not internalizing. All I'm seeing is a larger overview picture. I can see the big picture. But my wife, she can hear everything that's taking place. She can't see the big picture. So I was constantly accusing her of not listening to me. I'm like, you're just not hearing me. You're not listening. That wasn't the case at all. She, in stress and times when we were arguing, wasn't able to put all those pieces together into a cohesive big picture. So I had to be like, oh, I need to just step away. So really think about the dominance factor if you can. I mean, if you took nothing from this, but love languages and figuring out your partner's dominance factor, your relationships will exponentially improve. I promise you, because you will be able to walk away going, wow, I was just not even getting it at all. Hopefully you'll get there. And then when will you know if the relationship is done? Nobody can tell you when the relationship is done. Only you can know that. No. Sorry, guys. So here's the kicker. You will know it's done when you have decided it's done. The only time you can undo a done relationship is when you finally decide, oh God, I was the one who was screwing that up. There is a ton of work, and I posted it in the group, and I'm sorry, I can't find it right now. Yan, make a note that when we send the replay, let's make sure to include a link to that article that I shared inside of the members group, please. I just want to make sure you guys get access to that. So why relationships fail? Most were never meant to last. I mean, it goes against everything that you've ever heard, but most relationships were never meant to live past a short period of time. You connect with somebody who fills a need, a part of your ecosystem that doesn't exist, you get that fulfilled, and then you move on. That's sad, but it is true. There is not a shared growth plan. Like, both people haven't come together. You weren't soulmates who decided to grow together. You just came together to fill a need for each other. There's too much judgment on both sides. Again, you're going to hear me come back to judgment a lot because most people are completely unaware of how much we judge each other. There's a lack of trust on either end. You know, that has to be resolved. But then you got to look at the chapter thing and the loops like we talked about before, and not being seen. You know, who they are, not who they were. Most of us live in a past scenario where we're looking at the person who we're talking to and we're just reliving what we knew of them from the past. Okay. Now, this is my last one, and this is the parenting revelation that I had. You guys heard of the Ring cameras, right? Those front doorbell cameras that watch your front door, and so we have one, and I got a notice like someone was at my front door. I open it up, and it's my daughter. Her boyfriend was visiting from Los Angeles, and man, I have never had a gut wrenching stomach fall like I did that day. She was sitting on the front, and I heard her say, "But what do I do when my parents tell me to come home?" Because she was planning at that time to go stay with him in LA. And we're like, okay, yeah, that's cool. You know, it doesn't really matter. The pandemic, all things closed down. Okay, it's fine. Long story short, my heart dropped. I got sick and I got super, super depressed because I was scared shitless. I was scared, you guys. I was like, what am I going to do? My daughter wants to go and live in LA with this kid who is not a good kid. I mean, he was a nice person, but not a good kid for her. She was still stuck in a loop. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to do here? What do I need to do? So I started using this thing eventually. This called a brain tap. It pulled me out of my fear. It started to reprogram my brain and help me to see the world through a new litmus, because at the time I'd never experienced that much anxiety and depression in my life. This saved me. Um, and then I went to her and I went in her room and I said, look, I'm so sorry. I just have been replaying all of my activity as a father, and I realized how often I was never there for you. I mean, I was present, but I was never there. And I'm like, oh God, what did I do? Why is she seeking out the attention from this guy? And then I realized all of it was because I was never fully listening with 100% of my core and who I was. How in the world could she see and feel valued if I didn't actually listen to her? Like, and I don't mean like just listen. I mean like listen, hang on every single word she said. And that's what I started doing from that moment forward, as I started recognizing that I was not paying attention to my reality. And my daughter was the biggest expression of that, where I got to say, oh my God, I need to do better. And I started having these conscious conversations with her where no phones, no distractions, no nothing, just eye to eye contact on it, just insane level, where I get to listen to every single word that comes out of her mouth. And it transformed our relationship. She dumped the kid within like 2 weeks, maybe a month. She was like, nah, this isn't happening. It's over. She didn't need that external influence anymore. She didn't need someone to listen to her because her father was willing to listen to her. Now, look, guys, if you had watched any of my interactions with my daughter and been in my reality at all, you would have been like, oh my God, you're such a great dad. From the outside, it looked that way. But the truth is, I wasn't actually paying attention. Do you ever do that? Please just tell me in the comments here. Have you ever realized, oh my God, I wasn't fully present and paying attention to my partner or to my child? You know, nobody sees it but us. Just let me know that you're hearing. Okay. This is important. this is the one freaking thing that if you could just take this with you, be 1000% with the person you're with. Yeah, we all are there. Please, here's an important factor of this. Don't feel guilty, okay? Know that that happened and it had to happen in order for you to be who you need to be now, so that you can embody this bright light of 100% attentive awareness and physical presence and emotional and mental presence for your family, for your tribe, your community, and your world. They need it. All of them need it. And you can do it. And the reflection shows up in the best places, our kids, where we get to really help them. You have an opportunity to really, really help them now. So that's it for me. I really honor your guys' time here. I know I had said that I would be able to do a Q&A. If there's time at the end, I'll do a Q&A. I went so far over on my time, it's ridiculous. So I want to introduce our next speaker here, because I'm so amazed. By the way, Tiffany taught me a lot of this stuff as well. Tiffany's been a godsend for me and my family. So Tiffany is like, I don't even know where to begin with Tiffany. She is so fantastic and amazing. I don't even know what these acronyms mean, MTH, CHT. I mean, that's just my level of lack of education. I only can share with you my experience, but Tiffany actually has practical education and real education in this area. She is literally an international renowned medical intuitive. She is an amazing spiritual healer. She's a clinician. She's a researcher in subtle energy. She's the one who turned me on to BioWell, and trained me many times. I've gone to every single BioWell training. She measures the emotional influence of everything. I mean, she's just amazing. She's got her master's in theology and energy medicine. She's medical and spiritual counseling from Holos University Graduate Seminary School. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. You guys, I don't want to take too much of the time going through all of this, just to say, if Tiffany tells you it's true, you can be certain that it is, and you can be certain that she is going to be a great guide for you. So, guys, one of my best friends, one of my mentors, and an amazing human being, Tiffany, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you, Mike. Oh, that's a cool image.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for everything that you just offered and shared. It's so filled with truth and honesty and vulnerability and courage. And I honor you as a brother on the path, and love that we've had so much together to share. So I'm grateful for you.
Thank you.
And for you all that are here, that are embarking and knowing that there's more. There's more to discover and to know about ourselves. Let me begin. I'll get into a little bit of my story in just a moment. And let's see, there's a video that I'm going to be sharing in here too. So I'm going to click on that and hopefully it will work. Oh, wait, cancel that. Hold on. That did not work. Okay, here, let's do this. Perfect. All right. I'm going to make this perfect. Okay, so we're going to be talking about today unpacking what anxiety seeks to teach us. And there's so much more to the story than really what we've been told. And do I need to address the two raised hands of the participants?
I don't know.
Okay, cool. Now there's three.
We'll come back to that, guys. We'll come back to that if you don't mind. We'll try to knock through as much more as we can, and then we'll do questions if you don't mind. Once Tiffany's done, we can hit some more. So yeah, let's just keep going, and then you just hit.
You lost you on video there, Mike. Okay.
I turned it off so they could just see you. You are the only thing that matters, my dear.
Oh, no, that is definitely not true. Okay, so I want to honor this day, as I think it's really profound that we have this time together on such an auspicious time. And I'm bringing up this tarot card because it brings to mind a specificity that Carl Jung spoke to, the date of being November 11th of 2011. And he said that this was a turning point for humanity. Sorry, I'm trying to get this to click. Oh, that's weird. Okay. So it's a pivotal time where we're entering into the new age, and we're not fully embraced into the new age yet. Well, sorry, we're there, but we haven't entered into the fullness of where we're going into the Aquarian age. We're still ending a cycle. And this cycle really got going in 2012. So the poignancy to Carl Jung pointing to 11-11-11, it's the reason I put up this image here is because if you look at it as two portals, and that individuals, I'm paraphrasing what he was saying, but that individuals that make up humanity need to drop their baggage in order to evolve and be able to create ascension. One of the things that I love teaching about is creating ascension, but embodied ascension. Not this old school, like, oh, we're just going to take off and meditate and not be conscious and grounded and all of that. No, but about really being here for our emotional journey as much as our physical one, as much as our mental one. But we are not intended to keep on this karmic wheel. So the importance of these, the symbolism of this time, I do a form of esoteric numerology in which Carl Jung's interpretation of the tarot is used. So this is one of the reasons why I'm using this image. But these narrow uprights are meant to be purposeful, that you cannot go through. It's like in the eye of the needle. You don't get to take your baggage with you. And you know, when we die, there's no hearse with a trailer. we are meant to be more unencumbered, but that really means more emotionally. So we kind of need to stop the imaginary thinking that something new will happen. And we know that's the definition of insanity if we haven't changed our behavior. So some of what we're going to be speaking about is that today. And one of my passions in life is to help individuals in humanity, including myself, be able to get off the karmic wheel and not just do the repeat of what my family has done, and where, you know, that old adage, shit runs downhill. It's true. If we don't clean it up, then our kids have to likely deal with it. So it's a really important piece for our growth. So this is just a medical disclaimer that I am not your physician, and I'm not intending to give you medical advice here, and nor should you adjust anything that you're doing without your doctor being involved. So just because we're going to be talking on the topics of anxiety. So really important here, there are really at the high level, two types of anxiety. There's the type of person that goes into a highly controlled way of relating to people in the world. And then there's the people that become more empathic. And there's also several root causes, and there's a handout for that. The control is kind of obvious. We've all met people who are super controlling. And the idea is that we be able to come more into surrender. And Mike and I spoke about hopefully being able to offer a solution that was downloaded to me several years ago about getting off the drama triangle. So hopefully that'll be something that we can offer to the community in the future. So our gift from Heal and Thrive to you, and in this partnership with My Manifested Life and Mike, is this ebook that we put together. And I believe the links are going to be sent to you. So, and then we will also follow up. But if you go here, then we can send you this ebook, and it's a mini toolkit in addition to a checklist. And I'm going to be referencing this checklist throughout this conversation. So our empathic nature is actually really a gift, but it can feel like a curse at times. And the genius is always in the wound. So my personal story, very briefly, it's on my website, Heal and Thrive, and it's the reluctant healer story. I really didn't want this job as a medical intuitive, but I was born with all of the sensitivities, all the clairs, the clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant. And I could also move objects if I got really angry. I could read with a blindfold on. There was just all of these kinds of gifts, but at the same time, it was way overwhelming for a kid to deal with that much information with no skills or tools. And my parents certainly didn't know what to do with me. So I just want to say that for at the outset, I hear you when you feel like, man, this empathic thing is like, it's a bit of torture. But guess what? There's a lot of us on the planet right now for a reason. It's because we need to come into this. And I don't often use the words need, but yes, we need to get more out of the intellect and the mental spheres and more into understanding the emotions and the intelligence in which it speaks to us and about our environment around us. So this is the gift. You know, all of the empaths and the people who are high sensitive, myself included, we were shamans in other lifetimes, probably multiple lifetimes. So we've got something to bring to help others. But if we're going into a controlling nature or trying to dampen down our emotions or trying to convince ourselves that something isn't true, that's usually going to backfire. So let's define what anxiety is and what it isn't. And this is one of the definitions, a working definition from a psychologist and psychiatrist texts. Anxiety is an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure or panic attacks. People with anxiety disorders usually have reoccurring and intrusive thoughts or concerns. They may avoid certain situations out of worry or just social anxiety or just because they're too sensitive. So while all of that is true, it's only part of the picture. So I want to explain a little bit more from what I have found in my clinical practice is that we need to sort of flip it on its head. And that's the whole point about this image is what we see in one perspective. If we flip it to see, as Mike was just saying, about what was that thing that I was intending to teach myself? And this will be in your handout as well, but what was I intending to teach myself with the person I married or with the job I took or the job I quit or the illness that I got? You know, what was it that I was intending to teach myself in that domain? I have found that anxiety is not that's just one question, by the way, but, and it's a big one. Anxiety is not just a single emotion, but it's a grouping or an amalgamation of emotions of things that have gone unprocessed or unexplored from an earlier time. It's also how we referenced things when we were a kid that laid down a certain emotional sort of content that our body is then responding to when we get into another real-time scenario. Even though we could be advanced in our age, that same pattern can be running through because that was the pattern that we adopted because of that stressor. It's the way the brain lays down information. So we can undo it though. That's the positive thing, but we got to call it out. Because if we just let our emotions do a drive-by on us, then we are not being effective in our own emotional intelligence to be able to listen to what is that voice actually telling us. So some of the things, and this is all spelled out in the ebook that we created. And so I'm not going to go into details for each one, but the point is, as I'm listing these through, there are all these different reasons for uncovering why we get anxious, why there's anxiety. And I want to focus on a couple of them today. And sorry, there's just a bit of a delay as I'm clicking all of these. So which I highly suggest that you get the ebook, because when you read through, there's also solutions that are going to be there too. And of course, it's never a one-size-fits-all world, but did my best to create a document that would be a reference guide of something that you can forever to go back to. Like, what's the tool for this? What's the helper that I need for dealing with worry or dealing with being overly empathic, or just where my creativity is blocked, any of these kinds of things. So I'm just clicking through here so that you can see that I've actually landed on 20 causes, each having its own sort of subtlety. So when we name it, we are able to start feeling what it is that, and there's something that I put in the document that says, name it, claim it, feel it, and then we can work towards healing it. But there's usually a phase between in each of them. Sometimes we just need to stew in our own stuff for a while until we've had enough. And then we can start to have a breakthrough and a transformation. So this is what the actual ebook is. And it is, I love this quote, one's ship comes in over a calm sea. I have no idea where that came from, but it is so true. If we can learn to listen and get the wisdom, the great wisdom that is being sought by our souls to teach us at the personality level, we are going to advance so much further and truly be on our dharmic path as humanity. So that's some of what we're going to unpack here. And I encourage you to use the ebook as a reference, because I think it's like 15 or 16, 17 pages, something like that. I don't know what the actual count ended up as. But anxiety is here to tell us something. And we want to learn its wisdom, and ultimately become free. The most common causes of anxiety that I hear on great repetition are unconscious empathicness and creativity blocked. So I was just in a session the other day with a businessman, and I brought up the fact that we were doing an esoteric numerology session, actually. And I brought up that he was in a super creative time. And it's really interesting because, once again, using the tarot as a reference, the temperance card, number 14 in the deck, is alchemy. And it can also be sexual energy, but it's really about creative energy. And if we're not moving that creative energy, it can turn to anxiety. This was one of my great teachers on this path of being able to help other people get unraveled from that thing that is blocked. So what he and I were discussing is, he's a businessman. He didn't see himself as being creative at all. And what we ended up having to be able to unpack for him is that it's coming later, that creativity isn't just about writing books or painting beautiful pictures. It's not about that. It's about being in touch with an inspiration. Creativity is also problem solving. So we used in the story, the analogy that I'm giving you with him is that he's got some business challenges going on. And we talked about him and his creativity, maybe it's dreams, maybe it was some other insights, and explained that that's also a source of creativity, that energy seeks to move. And if it doesn't get moved, will turn into anxiety. And if there's some creative project that needs to be addressed that is coming up within us, it's so important to honor that inspiration, because that's the divine speaking within each of us to be able to move and carry on and be the creative spirit. We are creative in our nature. It's just, we can't help it. So there's a linear and a circular process. That's the reason that I'm using this kind of network grid. Sometimes we're in a more linear mindset. Sometimes we're in a more circular mindset. It's okay, whatever it is. If you're an entrepreneur, look for that next thing. So this person that I was just telling you about had such a massive aha as we were speaking about creativity like that, and realized that he had been thinking about another division of his company, about another person that he may want to bring in, that it was not getting the answers that he needed right away. But as soon as he changed the perspective of what creativity is, all of a sudden he got downloaded and he knew exactly what moves to make. So I just wanted to share that with you, because it's inspiring, and we're all inspired. Just sometimes we get cut off. So let's talk about that. We all have a fast moving river of creativity within us. Now, if you were in a boat, would you want to climb upstream of this? Would you want to start all of a sudden paddling up this river and all that white water? I don't think it would work so well. You wouldn't really get anywhere. because the natural flow is to move energy, not to stagnate it, not to stop it, not to say, I don't have time for you, not to say, for people who are really creative and they're not actually realizing it, or I'm saying that wrongly, everyone is creative, but there are some people that actually sit on their ideas. I have been so guilty of this myself. And in fact, I actually just recently unpacked because I was reading an awesome book called the Genius Zone. And I love this author. And in fact, he actually inspired one of the tools that you'll be getting when you get your ebook, is that I actually had a fear of my creativity, that I could be in my zone of excellence all day. I can help people all day long, but that's my zone of excellence and a little bit genius too. But where I really feel fulfilled is when I'm both helping another and realizing the ideas that are wanting to be realized through me. Because everybody's going to tell their story or tell a situation just a little bit differently. And as thought leaders and teachers out there, there's so many people saying the same thing that it's easy to say, oh, it's all been said. I don't need to add to this noise that's in the field. Well, bullshit. I'm going to call bullshit on you and on myself on this, because there's a resonance factor. The resonance means that something could be said by that person exactly in a way that a person can be able to resonate, like a tuning fork resonates, and be able to make that there's something that can click. So we need, even though it might be that there's no new ideas, this stuff is all ancient, this stuff is known. All we're doing is, in my work, actually, I'm calling it augmenting the ancients these days, so that we can do more to advance ourselves on the path. So our internal river is our creative forces and our natural flow states. So we want this to move with the current. And sometimes we encounter little eddies and turbulences. So I have a video for you. Let me show you what I mean by this. I'll set this up. My husband and I were in Colorado. I was shooting another episode for Gaia TV. And there's this beautiful, it's the Colorado River that goes right through Boulder, or one of the, I think that's true. I don't really know for sure if that's the Colorado River or not, but it was a big, fast moving river for this section. So we stopped and ate lunch and had a picnic out here and watched all these people come by on their inner tubes. Well, this was a kind of a moment. The sound is not that important, but I'm going to unplug myself for a second as just to make sure.
That's getting stuck in there. Oh yeah. It could. Oh, stall. Oh. She's got a flat head. Here's another one to come and bump her. Incoming! You can't stop the water. Yeah. Man, now you're both gonna be in it. Woo! Stop. Okay, hang on, let me put my headset back in. And
still hear me okay? Okay, so the point of that is that this is like an emotional eddy. So when we are stuck in this kind of flow, we can get in these eddies where nothing happens, and or we just get stuck like that. So that's what's meant by encounter these eddies and turbulence. So and sometimes we need a perturbation. We need something as an outside force, so we can actually move along. But an outside force could look different for different people. So anyway, that was just a little bit of some humor to share with you. So, and then we think of, on the opposite spectrum, that we think of depression as a dam. And the dam is because the depression and the dam is because that energy has been trying to move so much that it just gets stuck and it gets dammed up. And this is a really big deal with being able to move forward, but recognize that the creativity blocked is really, really important. And the other tool is actually in your handout of the ebook for the emotional discernment. And what I want to say about that, actually, let me go back here. So when we're talking about being an empath, then, and we are maybe all of a sudden feeling anxiety, it's sometimes well, it's actually all the time important to ask yourself, is that my emotion? Is that mine? So in one of the tools in the mini toolkit that we built for you is for you to go through the various steps, which very briefly, I'll say it here, is because we weren't necessarily using this time to process, but I just want to take you through it. So the discernment, like you're feeling an emotion and you ask yourself for your own inner knowing, is this mine? And listen for the first answer. First hit, best hit. My teacher, Carolyn Mace, always taught me that. First hit, best hit. Yes, that's my emotion. Okay, well, now you need to be aware of what situation you were in, what the cause was, what pattern does that go back to? There's more in the handout about that. But more often for empaths, it's usually not our emotions. We're picking up on other things. So let's say you're asking yourself, I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling like I even have a panic attack coming on. And you ask yourself, is this mine? And the answer is no. The next question is male or female. The next question is friend, family, situation, environment, peer, colleague, whatever. Environment can sometimes be a room because thoughts are where we last leave them. So you can get rooms that are just filled with yuck, turmoil, anxious energy. So by asking yourself that question, usually those sets of questions, you will dawn on what the situation or who the person was of where that onset of anxiety happened. And then you might even realize, oh, well, geez, every time I'm hanging out with that person, I am always feeling drained. I'm always feeling anxious. And like I've got this super high charge, but at the same time, I'm exhausted. It's what we call a tired and wired kind of feeling. That's just one example. You could use the whole spectrum of emotions to go through. But the point is, one of the number one keys for an empath is to discern, use the discernment, your own discernment, to figure out what's yours and what isn't yours, so that you can process what's yours, but you cannot process other people's emotions for them. So no matter how much we try, that's just not going to work out. So I wish to move forward here. As I mentioned, creativity is not only about writing books and painting works of art. It is seeking movement in no matter what our expression of it is in our lives. So I wish for us to have a moment of contemplation here. So if you have a journal, and this will only take a few seconds, or use your phone, or use your a notepad on your device, whatever. Let's just humble ourselves to our breath and begin a conversation with our creativity. And I just want to impress upon you, listen for the first answer, the one before all of the committee starts coming in and wanting to weigh in on your question. But that quiet voice until it becomes a louder voice. And for those of you that have taken Sue's course about intuition magic, or also what Mike has been teaching with Julie, there's so much natural intuition in all of us. We just have to give it airtime. So take this in and listen for the first answers. What does she say? I'm using say, like you're romancing your creativity, like you're getting to know her here. What does she say to you? What's the first thing? I miss you.
She said, get off your butt.
Yeah, exactly. I feel abandoned by you. I feel honored by you. I feel like you don't give me enough time. What is she saying to you? And the next question is, what does he, I'm just playing with the gender he, she, want you to know? The creativity is a life moving force. It's always there. What does your creativity want you to know? Just grab the single word. Usually our guidance comes in not in sentences, usually. As soon as it becomes a sentence, actually, it's usually a clue that there's probably some other interference. Then ask your creativity, what's the next step? What dance do you want to do together? Is there a project that has been on hold? Is there something that you've always been wanting to do, but you haven't done? What's the next step? And your homework is to put those things into motion. So we, as a community here, are witnessing each other and sharing in this sacred space. And Mike, I don't know if we have time now to go into Q&A and all of that, but
we'll probably have to save it until after Sue. I would like to, let's just see, can you raise your hand if you guys can, if there's any immediate question for Sue, because I don't want anybody to bail out who, especially when we're talking about something like, anxiety and depression. I don't want you to leave and not get your answers, So if you have something that you would love to ask Tiffany, let's go ahead and get that in there. But if it can wait till after Sue's presentation, that'd be wonderful. And that way, anybody who doesn't want to stay for Q&A they can depart, and we can honor those who want to stay and ask questions. Are you guys cool with that? Yeah, cool. You guys are awesome. I've got, let me see. Looks like there's 2 hands up. Can somebody determine how in the heck to see if those are new hands or not? Ah, crap, I sent the wrong one. Sorry about that, Gorman. That was for you, buddy, and I put it to the rest of my tribe. Sorry, one sec. Yeah, I would say let's keep going. I don't see any open questions that have come in. So, oh, are you frozen? No, you're not.
well, that's great. I'm glad it was so clear.
Still. Yeah, right. Okay, cool. Then let's, did you have anything? Okay, sorry. Let's put your link back out again, just so everybody can go get this. Please, I highly encourage you. I worked with Tiffany. Okay, I went through a bunch of stuff. I actually had her counsel me and my wife. We've gone through so much with her, and I highly encourage you to take the time. Obviously, in a short amount of time that we had today, this is not the right space and place for you to do the advanced amount of work that will be necessary to help free yourself from, the chains and freaking mountain that is anxiety and the dam, which I love the dam analogy, by the way, of depression. It's just not a good place to be, but there is hope. Obviously you'll want to get a qualified counselor. Tiffany or any other, really qualified counselor is going to be really important, but do take her work. Take what she's given you. It's just a gift from her to you, so that you can start to be in control and to take the reins from that, other part of the self that might be kind of running day to day right now. So hang on one second. Well, let's see. I think there might be one in here from Becky. Becky, what do you mean by, Becky says, what if you can't get answers to those questions? How do you unblock that? Which questions do you mean? You mean like the
ones I
conversation with creative
posed.
self? Yeah.
The ones I posed.
Yeah.
So
How do you
just
unblock
sit
that?
with it. So sometimes when we are in the flow, like right now, it's not an exactly ideal environment for you to sit quiet with yourself. You're in input mode, right? So there's a difference between broadcast and receive. And so put yourself in a quiet place where you can then receive and really be thinking about, it's almost like you're switching stations on a radio where you can hear And then you're not exactly going to talk back to that radio and be heard. So it's a time where you got to shift the frequency to listening. So right now, and you'll get better at this, it will really start to work like a muscle, where the more you do it and the more you listen, the more you pay attention, the more facility you're going to have with being able to listen. So don't put too much pressure on yourself right now. We're in an environment that isn't ideal, but take those questions down. I'll put them in the chat, and just sit with them with your journal, cup of tea, or in the morning. I love the morning meditation time where it just seems like there's just beams of inspired light that are coming at us. So I'll put that in there. Thank you.
You can also go, in addition to the link that, Lois, will you type the link into everybody in the chat? In addition to the link to go get Tiffany's great work there, you can also, if you're not, this is for everybody here. If you're not giving Gaia TV the $9 a month they want, it's a waste. Like seriously, $9 a month is nothing. If you can afford $9 a month, go get Gaia TV. You will learn so much from Gaia TV. And Tiffany has, I think, 5 episodes with Regina on there, right? Yeah.
The 5th one will be coming out soon. I just recorded it.
Yeah. What's her show called again?
Open Minds.
Open Minds with Regina Meredith.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those sources are on my website as well. So the resources, you can see anything that's inspired.
There you go. So go check out our website. You can go to the mymanifestedlife.com/Tiffany. It'll redirect you right to the ebook, and then you can just check everything out from there. Very simple. Most of you guys are familiar. Or you can go directly to healandthrive.com, and you can just navigate around there, whatever tickles your fancy. Point being, go and check out more from Tiffany as soon as you can, because she will be a godsend for you. Thank you so much for being here, Tiffany. Really appreciate you. If you can hang out for any additional questions that might come up, that would be really wonderful. Next, I want to introduce Sue. Yeah, my life is a suite of synchronicity, and I ended up meeting Sue through, by the way, guys, this is what happens when you let go and you surrender and you let synchronicities drive you. Life is so much easier. You don't even have to try. It's like, wow, okay, cool. I'm like praying, how do I need to make an extra blah, blah, blah this month? Show me a sign, tell me what to do. And then all of a sudden, within an hour, something shows up. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's how I ended up coming into contact with Sue. I'm like, man, I really need somebody who can help do this and that. And then my friend Ed's like, oh, dude, you got to meet Sue. Sue's amazing. She's fantastic. And I'm like, yeah, everybody says that about people that they know and like. And I know you like this girl, Sue. So I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. Oh, yeah. So we got on the phone, and I'm sitting there and I'm grilling her. I'm like, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, just like, do you really know what you're talking about? Or are you just one of those foo-foo-y chicks that's running around with, flowy white clothing, dancing around a fire, and there's no actual substance to the shit coming out of your mouth? Like, come on. Where are we going to land the plane on this? And no joke, seriously, Sue blew my mind. Like, you want to talk about, and I said ancient because it's like passed down, and it's just like Sue is magical, period. When she was like, I was like, what do you want to call the course that you're going to create? She's like, I'll call it intuitive magic. I'm like, oh my God, I love it. It's so perfectly Sue. So you guys are going to absolutely love Sue. I'm not going to go deep into where she studied, how she studied, any of this stuff, because it doesn't really matter. Just listen to what she says, and you will be blown away by just an obvious understanding of the way the universe actually works. So Sue, I really appreciate you being here with us today. Please take it away.
Oh, thank you, Mike, for that beautiful introduction. Honestly, I was just like really laughing at what you were saying, because I can see myself being like a very flowy fairy energy type. So I can see that. And then when I get really serious, it's like I enter into a different space, and the wisdom it's being channeled through me. So I'm like grateful for that too. So I just wanted to say something before I actually start on my presentation, which is that I really love both of the presentations as you guys were talking and going through all of the information that you were giving us. There are two things that came through me, which the first one was the wound is where the light enters by Rumi. And I really, really love that quote because I finally understood it. I was like, oh my God, in a literal sense, the wound is where the light enters. And it's like in those spaces where we are hurting, where we feel the weakest, where we feel that we are down, that we are depressed, that we are in the bottom, like hitting rock bottom, that's where the light just says, here you go. This is all for you. This is all for you because you're going to be able to go through this and you're going to survive it. And not only survive it, but you're going to thrive from it. And the second thing was actually creative expression, which you were talking about, Tiffany. Thank you for that reminder. So beautiful. Creative expression for me is divine channeling. And so for me, creative expression is allowing to just everything to flow through me, whether it is writing, whether it is painting, whether it is just creating a line of clothes, whatever it is. For me, that is creative expression. It's divine channeling and allowing all information to come through me. And for me, this has been a work in progress, which is allowing all information to flow as naturally as possible, so that when it ends up on the other end, like on the finished product of what I'm giving, it's truth. It's truth to my soul. And when you receive that from the other side, you're like, wow, this feels truth. I resonate with this. I resonate with that because nothing in her, actually, I have to be guarded from that. Like nothing says, no, this is not true. Everything is just so beautifully flowing because, I mean, there is no ego involved. It's just pure divine channeling of what the messages are coming through me. And I am just expressing them. And so I really love that because creativity for me, as my background, I am an artist. I paint, I write, I do illustration. I do creative expression as a form of healing. That's what I do. Like everything that comes from me, like I've learned shamanic studies, I've done so many other things, but for me, it's about allowing creativity to flow through me and using that as a source of healing for myself and for others. I see how people actually just like literally once they allow that creative flow go through them, how they open up and how they start moving, and like even just in movement, like embodying that. That's what I actually like. I heard something from Tiffany as well, which was, how can we embody this more and not just being like up in the air and all in the mind? Because I mean, the mind is just super tricky, but how can I actually move with the flow that all my body just like it moves in perfection? And when I mean in perfection, it moves in truth, which is like just allowing myself to be like, yes, this is where I need to go. This is where I need to flow. This is what it's been calling to me, because, you know, everything feels so right that river is just like taking you spaces. And sometimes, yes, that creativity can get blocked because obviously we have so much trauma, and then we just keep repeating the loop, and it's like we're back in that little boat, and we're just like, instead of like going through the river, we're just like, you know, in the dam. So that actually is so beautiful once we allow that energy to flow through and actually follow the river and see where this takes us. Because the universe has mysterious ways of talking to you, and sometimes it's not even what we want. It is always never what we want, actually. Like it is always what the universe is asking from us. And how can I actually be a divine channel to just allow that energy to move through me and and see how creativity flows, and how can I actually, you know, move through here. So I'm going to share my presentation now. And as we were talking, and I just want to share this too, is just like I got distracted for a second because a hummingbird hit my window. And so I was like, okay, so like, I'm just going to stand up and like check him out and see if everything is okay. So like I stood up, I checked him out. And as I was remembering, I mean, and we were having this conversation. The hummingbirds are a symbol for ancestors, for just like allowing the messages of your ancestors to come through, and they're playful and fun. And the hummingbird just sucks up on the nectar of a flower. He doesn't go on the same flower twice because he knows where the nectar is. And that is such a good metaphor for the things that actually, when we do in life, when we actually go and suck up on the nectar of the beauty of things that we're actually in need, and we don't, allow ourselves to suck up on the things that are no longer serving us, it's so beautiful because our life becomes full of joy and it becomes full of beauty. And I honestly say that the best healing for depression is joy, is being able to feel that joy and being able to express ourselves to whatever it is that we're doing. It doesn't matter what it is, but to being able to express ourselves. And I feel like if you're all here, as we were talking about gifts, gifts, like as empaths, as people who are highly sensitive, as the ones who can receive these messages, gifts, allowing yourself to receive all of these gifts are blessings from the universe, like true blessings of the universe, to just being like, yes, I want to receive all of this and I am ready to embrace all this beauty in my life. I'm going to go ahead and share presentation. So today I wanted to talk to you about imperfect timing and imperfect flow, which is conversations with the universe. How, do you guys ever feel like the universe is talking directly to you? And if so, how? The universe has so many beautiful ways of communicating with you, just like massive amounts of ways of just communicating. And it can be done through, as we were talking, through numbers, archetypes, symbols, people, sounds, colors, crystals, whatever it is that it's calling to you particularly, because we are all so different that definitely exploring our own unique gifts is what's going to make us really embrace that creativity and that flow going through us. So I wanted to talk to you about how to read these symbols and how to actually being able to, yes, channel this information that is coming through you. And so, for example, let's think about the symbol of the hummingbird. What's the story behind it? There's always a story. Our minds are always telling stories. So, the way we process information is through stories. Everything is told in a story. And this is why I love ancient traditions, because they're not literal about their stories. Their stories have hidden messages within themselves. And you're like, wow, yes, my grandfather told me this story. And then it became it becomes a culture, it becomes folklore. And then in those hidden messages, there's so much beautiful symbolism and beautiful stories. And so what is that story trying to tell me? What does it mean collectively? And when I say by this is what is the information that us as a collective mind are putting into that story? What does it mean? And what does it mean for, everyone in general as a beautiful archetype? And so how can we just grab onto that information and be like, yes, I love this. I love that this is coming through to me. And what does it mean to me? There's the collective, there is the personal story, the interpretation, and what is it that I am in need of this right now? What am I in need of this right now? And this is a beautiful question to ask, because as Mike was saying about the lessons, sometimes, if you haven't learned your lesson, you're going to keep repeating this, but then what is the healing that you're in need of that right now? A person doesn't appear magically in your life to just be like, hey, they're always there for a reason. They're there to teach you a lesson. And sometimes the symbols are as simple as something like that, which is it's a direct message. But are we really listening in, as Mike said? Are we fully really listening into the universe? Or are we caught up in our own story that we can't really listen to that which we are actually hoping for to receive? So keeping track of synchronicities. This is so beautiful, because definitely this is how I know where the flow is taking me and where the river of my energy should be going, which is like, when and where have I seen this before? Like if a message is coming through me and I'm like, okay, like I keep seeing this person. I had this like one person showing up in my life, and the first time I saw him I was like, oh, I saw him on Instagram. Then the next time my partner was like, hey Sue, do you want to go to dinner? And then he was there. Like I've never met him before, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then like after that I kept seeing him, and I was like, what's going on about this person? And honestly, that person introduced me to one of my best friends that for me, she's a gift of the universe. Like for me, she's been one of my biggest teachers, my biggest mirrors, my biggest just like me and her are just like, I mean, we are kind of like the same, I say. But I mean, it was just the universe was leading me, and it like the biggest like healing moments have happened through her. And one as a mirror and as a reflection, one of the most beautiful things that I learned from her was laughter. I mean, how to transmute everything through laughter. We laugh so much together that whatever it is that we're going through, as like horrible as it may seem, like, I mean, that when we laugh together, I just feel my heart just like blossoming into just like beauty and excitement. And this is so powerful because my lesson there was to actually be able to open up my heart even more so I could learn to transmute energy from laughter instead of like, from like many other things that are like really hard. But then I realized that laughter was the best one for me. So I really love that one. And the other thing is like, who is carrying this message? Like, am I willing to receive it? Because sometimes, like we might be close to even receive these messages, and the messages are always there for us. We just need to ask for them and to be able to just kind of like, yes, I'm ready to actually embrace this. And another question would be, am I really like openly receiving the gifts that the universe has to offer me? And I love this question because it's like, it definitely for so many years, as I was also like struggling with my own my own depressions, my own wounds, my own things, I wasn't allowing the gifts to come through me. I wasn't receiving what like the universe had to give me because I was closed out. And as soon as that like I hit rock bottom, I was like, this needs to change right here, right now. The decision was mine. And after that, the universe was like, just like showering with me with gifts. And I'm like, can it get any better? And the universe like, yeah, it can get better. Yes, it can get better. And I was like, wow, I can't believe that this can actually get better for me. And I feel that this is like one of the most important messages, which is like right now in this point of time, humanity is being called, as Tiffany said, to wake up, and for us to actually wake up is to be more conscious, to be more aware, to actually share as brothers and sisters. I have so many beautiful sisters that, I mean, so many lessons that just keep coming from there, and I'm like so open to receiving them right now that I'm like, oh wow, this is so amazing. The humanity is waking up, and we need more loving people. We need more people like you. I mean, we really definitely need more people with this high sensitivity, because the world is changing, the world is transitioning. And as you are being able to explore all these beautiful gifts that you have, you are going to be able to just heal so many more just with your presence and just by being you and allowing those gifts to come through you as a divine just channel. And so let's talk about, I love working with spirit guides and how to work with them, because I feel that it's all about energy, vibration, and frequency. And we are also different, so we can all commune with different things, or different spirit guides, different allies, I call them. And working in the spirit realm, as I was like, as I'm like navigating this, working with the spirit realm for me has become so obvious. Like it has become obvious. I'm like, I mean, there is no chance that that is not there. It has become obvious and clear as day that that is there, because I listen in, I tune in into nature, I deeply connect to it, and I allow those messages to come through me and see how everything has a spirit. I mean, I'm just like quoting Pocahontas, but it is true. I mean, they knew it. They knew it. Like everything has a spirit, and everything is sacred. Everything. You are sacred. You came here for a reason. You are a gift of the universe. And it's only about opening up to that sacredness and being able to receive and hear those messages just like super clearly and be like, yes, yes, I am willing to receive this. And so these are some of the things that I like to work with, or just to how to kind of like embody those energies. And one of the things that I love is like, who do I feel identify with? Because that thing which I feel identify with is calling me right now at this point in my life. And it can be crystals, it can be colors, it can be, I mean, it can be numbers, it can be whatever your form of expression is. It's so beautiful, but that has to be kind of like up to you. That is your gift to discover and be like, what is it that I am really like in tune with? What is it that I want to place my energy, and where is that I want to go and dive myself deep in and study about this and be curious about it and navigate that thing and be like, yes, I want to learn all about it. And it can be from like angels to learning about ascended masters, to learning about spirit animals, to learning about archetypes, and like even how to work with them. And so, how do I even bring their presence into my life? And it's not like the presence is just gonna like magically appear. I do a lot of research and I do a lot of studying, but I also allow that information to come to me and to just kind of like be a channel. And what I mean by that is, for example, it's like, okay, so I got the message of this, just like I pull up a card and I'm like, ooh, this ascended master is coming to me. What does it mean? What does it mean to me? What is their message? What is their vibration? What is their frequency? And how can I embody this more in my life? And by embodying it, I mean, it's like, how can I reenact this, which, you know, that teacher is trying to teach me, trying to just express through who they are. And by that, I mean, for example, if I'm working with a specific type of energy of vibration, how I can embody that even more is through my own voice, through my own prayers, through dancing, through movement, through expression, through creation. I paint, I write about them. I allowed all that information to come through me. And it doesn't matter if at the beginning it's like, oh, you know, like, I don't like this. You know, like maybe at the beginning there is that persistence of like, I don't know what's going to come on the other end. But that's the magic of creation. That's the mystery of creation, which is allowing creativity to flow through you and have no expectations on the other side. And when I think about manifestation, that is the process in which I also manifest things, which is creating a beautiful piece of art of my life. And so this is what I call upon, which is like, ooh, like what is it that I want to create in my reality? And as an artist, I want to be able to actually create and paint this beautiful picture. But what do I need? Maybe I need to heal this. Maybe I need to let go of this. Maybe I need to surrender to this. And then that picture starts coming into form and shape. And I know that I'm shaping my reality as I am creating it, and as I am just being conscious and aware that that is happening right now to me. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of like how I actually create my own reality. And as I envision this, like I see that it's possible for everyone to be able to do so. I mean, once it's like, I feel like masters or, you know, the teachers that come to us have laid a path for us to just be easier to navigate through it. Because I mean, they've done so much work, they've paved the way, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can navigate this easier. I can actually flow through here, and like I can learn the mastery. For me, a master means that you have a mastery on something, which is like you've done so many hours of that, you've learned to master that of which you are kind of like creating. And all of a sudden you're like, yes, like I've become a master of my own life. I can do this. I can create whatever it is that I want.
Well, I want to interject for a second there, Sue, because I think you're saying something very important, and that is to accept your creative ability, to accept that you create, and to not judge the form of that creative expression at any point in time. So I don't know about you guys on the line right now, but have been many times when I was judging a way in which I felt drawn to create, and where I was like, oh man, don't do that. That you can't do that. That's not the right thing. Or they're going to all laugh at you or whatever it is. And I'm like, and I have to come back and remind myself, no, it's cool, man. I have crystals all, I mean, there's a pile. There's like 100 of these crystals back here, which by the way, if you guys are still here, when we go to the end and we do some stuff, we'll just grab a couple people who has the best questions. Excuse me. I'm sorry. And I'll send you guys some of these crystals. I got a ton of these things and I have too many. Point being that like, it doesn't matter where you are. If you can just have that understanding, like you're saying, Sue, of creative expression without judgment in any form and in any way, it's just moving that energy. And I love that you're mentioning the body too. Sorry, I geek out. Well said. Hey, could you mind moving the cursor over a little bit for me? I want to take a little quick screenshot here. Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, as Mike was saying, like, I mean, creative expression is so beautiful because like it can come in many forms and it can come in many shapes and it can come in many colors. And once we are able to really navigate those steps within ourselves, we are able to just like manifest whatever it is that we want for our lives. And as Mike was saying, you know, just like moving through that energy and being able to create your own reality. And I feel that even, you know, just like receiving this, you know, these gifts from the universe, these messages from the universe, the only thing that you have to do is be willingly open to receive them. That's the only thing. When we ask for help, help is always there for us. The only thing that we need to do is actually ask for help and be like, hey, universe, I need help. I need help. And help might manifest itself by many forms. And we're like, no, but I don't need help from him. I don't actually need help from that book. I don't actually need help from that. And so like that, you're closing your way out to actually receiving, because help comes in so many shapes and colors and forms that is just like, yes, I'm willing to just have that one conversation. And that one conversation can change your life forever. It's just about definitely being able to open up and receive those messages. So fully, like really, really listen in. And just as the last thing, we have a gift for you. So I actually created a beautiful meditation that I wanted to do as an offering for you guys. It's a guardian angel meditation. And I was like, what can I offer to this beautiful community? And what was coming through is that definitely that support. I mean, for me, the guardian angels have to do with supporting your path and allowing that energy and that frequency of receiving that help to come through. So this is a beautiful gift for you. And so, yeah, I'm actually done with my presentation.
I put the link in there for everybody. So it's mymanifestedlife.com/Sue. We like to complicate things here. So that will redirect you to Sue's website where you can check out everything about Sue, sign up for her newsletter, and, you know, sign up for, by the way, guys, sign up for Tiffany's newsletter, sign up for Sue's newsletter, whatever you can to stay connected to these beautiful angels. You are going to love it. I mean, they could easily both, their knowledge bases are so intertwined. Everything you talked about from, you know, ascended masters and spirit guides, angel conversations, spirit animals. I mean, the overlap is amazing. And I consider myself a rookie compared to you two. And I really enjoy being able to be in your presence and to learn from you both. And I'm really, really grateful for you both taking the time to be here. So from me and everybody who's here and those who are going to watch the recording, thank you so much, both of you guys. So thank you for being present.
Oh, thank you, Mike, for having us.
Absolutely.
Yes. Agreed.
So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Tiffany. Well, let's go ahead and do some questions now. I think there might be some in here. I see a couple, one from Christina and Jackie. Are you guys able to see the Q&A questions by chance?
Yes.
Cool. By the way, I don't know if you saw it, but Lisa says you have a beautiful aura about you, Sue.
Aw,
It's totally true.
received.
You're awesome. So do you want to start with Christina's question? I think that was for you, Sue.
Wait, where are the questions? How do we identify the messages from our guides that's not our internal voice or other sources? I feel that the messages can come in many ways, as I was explaining. The messages can come through a friend. I mean, it's just like really tuning in. Like sometimes we're like, oh, I feel like the message has to come from my own head, but it doesn't. Like all of a sudden, maybe I go out to the supermarket and I take a look at a sign, and then the sign has the message that I need to receive. I mean, I watch a movie and that movie has a message for me that particular day. I mean, everything is about truly listening in to the universe. I mean, and the universe can be everything. One of the things that I've noticed is that the more we are overwhelmed with information, the less we are able to actually receive. So a beautiful practice is actually to sit in silence and to allow that information to come through you, and to tune out what things that no longer serve you anymore, or things that you're like, this is noise on my background, especially being in a society which is like constantly bombarding you with information. I feel like if you are able to kind of like tune out of that, it is easier as well to receive the messages, because we have not that much information in our heads at the moment. So the less, like, I mean, detoxing is a perfect and beautiful way. And not only just like, oh, when we talk about detoxing our bodies, detoxing the mind, detoxing the mind from social media, detoxing the mind from everything, even just one day a week to connect to nature and to go into that space where you can fully detox from everything else. That would truly help to be able to receive more your messages and to be more in tune to what you're feeling.
I love that answer, Sue. I also get many messages from everything and I ask for it. I literally say, show me a sign, give me a message, and then I follow it. In fact, for a while, I don't know if anybody here has seen this movie, but for a little while, my favorite movie was Jeff Who Lives at Home, which is basically a movie about a guy who just follows these literal breadcrumb trails. And I don't want to give the movie away, but Jeff Who Lives at Home is an amazing movie of a man who just follows the synchronicities for an entire day. And what happens is just absolutely magical and beautiful. So great answer.
Mhm.
Okay, anyone else want to? There's another one here. How do you handle crystals, store, carry, or talk? I know each of us probably has a different viewpoint on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a beautiful question, but it has so many answers to it. I feel like the first thing is like, what do you feel called to? Like, what is it that you feel drawn to? Because the simple answer would be like, why is it that you feel drawn to that, and what is that trying to tell you? Because I mean, there's so much information in the universe that I can't really like channel it all.
Well said.
But we can definitely like, I mean, when we get in tune to it and just be like listening, yes, this is what I actually feel that I'm being called to right now, or this crystal is calling me at the moment.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is the only wrong thing that you can do with crystals, the only wrong thing is I have accidentally left my amethysts in the sun. They don't really like the sun all that much. They're a night charger. They're not necessarily a day charger, but that's the only thing that I was like, oh man, look at they got a whitewash. Dang it. All that beautiful purple's gone. Bummer. All right. Well, I guess it was supposed to be. Okay, cool. We have another question here, and it says, how do we tap into the energy of past loved ones as guardian angels or guides? How do we know for sure who is speaking to us? Is there a specific way to discover without us allowing our mind to make assumptions based on relationships while they were alive? It's a great question.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Can you rephrase that, like the question, like go slower so I can
Sure, no problem. How do we tap into the energy of our past loved ones as
Mhm.
guardian angels or guides? She's trying to discern whether or not she can tap into that energy. And when she does, how does she make sure that it's not just her mind playing tricks on her? I think a lot of us have that thought in the beginning when we start our journey, like, hey, am I just making this all up? How is she able to determine what is actual communication with those loved ones if she is able to communicate with them, and how much of it is just past memories? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I feel the answer is that in a way, there is no difference between if it's like a memory or if you're feeling that vibration and tuning into that frequency, because everything is about frequency and tuning into a specific message. It's like a radio. I mean, you can tune in the radio to listen to whatever station you want. And when we talk to guides or angels, that would be kind of like the more specific answer to that, which is like, oh, we can tune in ourselves to listen to a specific frequency or a specific vibration. Also with like calling upon that energy and receiving and being fully present and to acknowledge what is it that we're receiving. And the messages can come, as I said, maybe, you know, you're calling in for the energy of your grandmother. And so your aunt and grandmother shows to you in different ways, which is might be like, all of a sudden you walk through a place and you hear her favorite music, you smell her favorite perfume, you listen to what something that she would have said to you. I mean, it doesn't have to be literally it's in my head, but it's showing up in my reality in different points of view and different perspectives, because I am also creating that and I want to be able to fully receive that message. And I know at the beginning it's like really hard to maybe discern which things I'm like making up or not, but I honestly think that if we tune in, there is no like, when you know, you're like, I am receiving this message, they're knowings, they're coming to you, and there is no doubt whatsoever whether it is true or not. It's like, yes, it's there, the energy is there, I can feel it, I can like channel it, I can talk to her, and I can see the messages of the things that that ancestor is trying to tell me.
Nice. It's true. And there's no limit. Somebody asked another question, I think it's been answered, but can other people's family members try to communicate with us? I personally haven't seen a limit to who can communicate with you. I've had animals come to me in dreams. I had a girl come to me in a dream that this is weird, but I had a girl come to me in dream state, and she was the 16-year-old friend of one of my friend's daughters. But she was super intuitive. She didn't realize how intuitive she was. She came to me in a dream, and I'm like, oh shit, this girl's in trouble. And I had to call my friend and be like, okay, this is going to sound weird, but the 16-year-old friend of your friends is in trouble. She came to me in a dream, and you got to go help her out. Like, I don't know what's going on in her reality, but she's scared for her life. You've got to go help her. So my friends went over there. She was in danger. They pulled her out of the house, and she didn't go back. So try not to, if you can, try not to limit your intuition and your connection to everything to just locality, any locality, physical space, familiar bonds, any of it, because you are an infinite being. Even though we can't as humans really contemplate what infinite means, but you're infinite. There's no limits.
Yeah, and there's another question here. Do you ever feel versus seeing the signs? Yes, of course. Sometimes I just feel it in my body, but I feel that this is like where it gets actually fun to discover what your gifts are. Some of us might be seers. Some of us might feel it. Some of us might, I mean, everyone processes information very differently. So I feel that the fun gets when you're like discovering what your gifts are, and you're like, oh, I actually seeing colors. I mean, I have this like one girl come to me and said, Sue, my gifts are colors. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so beautiful. I mean, she at first like just could see the colors and she would talk about the colors, and I'm like, hey, I feel like the colors are calling you. But she was like, not, like the message was always there. And we did this session about like helping her find her purpose. And what we realize is that she can see colors, and the path she's taking now is to actually being able to work with auras and see how that relates to that. And so every gift is so completely different and so beautiful that it's always about allowing those gifts to come to you and for you to open up to receive them.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tiffany, there's one for you inside the Q&A. If you want to go over that question anonymously, that would be wonderful. Can you see it in there?
I'm looking, I just cleared them all out. So I'm
they're
back in
fresh.
there. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Got it. Okay, I'm reading now.
Thank you.
You said for me to answer anonymously, so I'm gonna just, I'm gonna.
You can mention it for
type this in.
everybody else. I didn't want to quote a name is all.
Yeah, okay. So is it how to conserve little energy, or I'm overpowered with anxiety or
Overpowered.
fear of driving? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm overpowered by the anxiety of fear of driving. I have struggled with this all my life, but I need to be able to drive. I'm a single mother of 2. I am so overwhelmed with the fear of getting my license and driving that I cannot seem to overcome. Suggestions. Okay. So I'm sorry for the challenge. And I have worked with people who have absolutely gotten over this. It's a type of phobia. It could be related to a past life issue. And also there's vehicles in general have a symbolism of how to move forward or moving forward. So there's might be a little bit of fear of moving forward in your life as well. So I would, not knowing your story or things like that, I would work with potentially a hypnotherapist, or my favorite is QHHT, which is quantum hypnotherapy healing technique. And Dolores Cannon was one of my teachers. She's no longer living, but she's got many, many, many practitioners. That would be the most responsible answer I could give you. I do know it's absolutely possible. I have been working with people who that's been their reality, and they got over it and actually moved to San Francisco and drive all the time. So of any of the big cities, they're really thriving. So it is possible. And there's a question to Susanna, and I will also answer this. And for Joanne, you asked if, do you ever see without pictures or words? Usually the subconscious is speaking in a symbolism, but yes, I'm clairaudient. So one of the things that made me crazy as a kid is I was always hearing answers. I still do. And that's my number one way of perceiving. So there's, and you're saying without pictures or words, but there's so many different kinds of symbolism. So Sue, I will let you also answer.
Yeah, Tiffany, I mean, I love this, and I love that, I mean, you have this like special abilities like really put to use, because like it's so beautiful to see how everyone can develop them in such a different ways. And once you like really embrace them, it's more about like what's in tune for you. I mean, what is it that you feel that it's like your kind of like your superpower or your gift? And I mean, for everyone is different. Like in my case, like as we're having this conversation, I know that there are energy shiftings and things, and I feel it all through my body, and I feel how the energy is moving through the conversation, whether, you know, like I can feel all of this. And at the beginning, it would be overwhelming because it's like a lot of just information coming through my body. And as I am processing it, I'm like, oh, okay, this actually feels right. And as you are asking me questions as well, I receive the messages and they pop out in my head, and they're like, you should say this, Sue. You should talk about this. And so it's not always like, oh yeah, it's receiving the messages from the outside, but actually being such a clear channel that you can discern what to say, when to say it, and why that is coming to you. Like to me, it happens sometimes that if I'm near a person, I know if they're sad, if they're depressed, if they're angry, like I can feel all of it. And if I walk like far away from that, I'm like, oh, that's gone. But then this as a gift is so beautiful, because if you become so empowered of this, you become a beautiful healer as well, which is like with so much love and respect, you can be like, hey, I am feeling this, you know, does this resonate with you? And it can be done in such a beautiful way that is just like having a conversation with the other person and being of service. And that for me means to fully be of service, which is like allowing myself to yeah, to help whatever is coming through me. And I'm like, yes, I actually needed to be there. I needed to have that conversation with that person. And I don't know why, but I mean, it makes me just really happy to be able to be there. So I feel like if you have those beautiful gifts, it's a matter of just, yes, receiving them, opening up to them, and being, and say yes to the universe.
I love
And
that.
yes.
I want to interject one piece in here. Um, Tiffany mentioned earlier that when she was talking about the vehicle and maybe the representation that the vehicle could represent moving forward, and it is and a possible desire not to move forward. A lot of us think to ourselves, well, why would someone not want to move forward? Well, I always ask the questions, and we mentioned this a lot in the course, like, hey, who would you be leaving behind when you move forward? Who would you be afraid to disconnect from when you move forward? What loss would be incurred as you move forward? I'll tell you all, I waited 15 years before creating this website and doing courses and doing these webinars because I was afraid that when I started, I would lose people in my reality. And I did not, that fear was driving me from moving forward. So I'm not trying to tell you the answers. All I'm trying to say is that my whole world is in symbolism now. So to Sue's point, just listen to the universe, to God, to higher self, to spirit guides. Choose the wrapper and the medium that works for you, and then just shut up and listen and then take action. You're like, oh, because it's not enough just to listen. You also have to take action. You got to do something, right?
Mhm.
So listen to those messages in whatever wrapper makes you feel good, and just take action on them. But do truly listen. And if you ever think to yourself, am I making this up? You're making it all up. It's all in your head. There's nothing that's not in your head. So get over that. It doesn't matter. Just keep going. You once you can validate and trust it and you document it and you start doing your coincidence journals, you're like, wow, this is really that simple? Yeah, it is.
There's a question from Lorena. She says, lately I'm having a lot of dreams, trying to remember them the next day and write them down so I can find the interpretations after. Do you have any extra advice, insights of signs coming from dreams? Yes, I mean, dreams are one of my favorite practice because dreams are definitely a way to enter into this conscious mind. And once you really, I would say, master your dreams. I'm not yet a master of my dreams, but I do a practice which is called lucid dreaming, which is actually being aware that I am awake within my dreams. And so I can actually see everything that is happening and consciously remember it the next day. And actually, I am able to even talk to my guides on my dreams. So I feel that dreams are such a beautiful practice to communicate with the unconscious mind and to be able to navigate those spaces. And in the intuitive magic course, Lorena, I also talk more about the dreams. I talk about more about how to actually interpret them, what are the different realms that you can, like kind of like navigate through them, and how can you talk to all of these beautiful beings through dreams. Because I mean, sometimes in my dreams, I'm like, I know that this is a clear message and I receive it fully. Like, I'm like, I am having a lucid dream right now and I am receiving fully, and contact from beings from other dimensions. I mean, talking to spirit realm. I do so much work in my dreams that I love sleeping all the way, but sometimes I can't sleep because if I'm dreaming too much, I'm not resting. But it's one of the most beautiful practices that there is to really connect, and all of us can do it. I mean, there is no one who can't do it. I mean, we can all, and we do it every night. And if we become so good at it, we can consciously communicate with our subconscious mind through dreams. So it's so beautiful.
I don't know if you guys are seeing them, but there's a couple of questions in the chat. Let's see if we can answer just a few
Yeah.
more if you guys don't mind. I know we're already way over in time. I'm super grateful for your additional time here today. But Renee has a question I can read out. Renee says, I've been afraid of losing my surroundings, my people based on learnings. My surroundings and people based on learning I was an empath years ago. But every time I mention it, everyone says I'm crazy. So I completely let it go. This is crazy. Oh, no, she wasn't asking a question. I'm sorry. She just said I needed this today. Sorry about that, Renee. And thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Oh, by the way, Sue mentioned intuitive magic. If you guys go to the website and you'll find Sue's course on there. Tiffany, we haven't put one together with her yet, but we will. And she's got her own products as well. Please don't. This is just for you guys here right now. Don't pay the $4.97 that's on the website right now. There's a big 11/11 sale taking place. Just check your email for that 11/11 sale, and then you can literally set your own price for our program. And we have Sue's at like, I don't know, 80% off or some ridiculous thing in the after you buy. So just don't waste money. I mean, not that we don't love money, of course we do, but we just want to make sure you guys get the most from it. Again, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just don't want you to go there and be like, oh man, I just can't have that. I don't have that. And I want you to be able to get benefit. Is all I'm trying to say. So cool. And there's some more questions in the chat. And not in the questions blank, but in the chat. I'm seeing that some people aren't figuring out necessarily where to put the questions. So if you can.
So there's one that I started to respond to here.
Please.
I didn't keep track of whose name it belonged to, but how to conserve our little energy while struggling with anxiety and depression, trying to increase our energy again. So really look at where the energy is being expended. So what is taking it, and also what could be bombarding you that may not actually be yours. This discernment, man, I can't speak to it highly enough. The discernment is so key because it will rob all of your energy and make you feel tortured for actually being a sensitive or an empath. So the conserving your energy is learning the gifts of it. The only time we're losing energy is when we're in resistance to something. So what are you actually resisting? And that image about going up the river speaks to this, because you will get more energy when you actually just go with the flow. So I'm sure there's more to comment on there, but there's so much in that ebook that I put together. So hopefully you'll find that as a helpful resource.
That's great. There's another one in there from an anonymous individual. Did you want to take that one on, Tiffany?
Is it, I've been working on detoxing my mind?
Yeah, did you already cover that one? Sorry if you did.
No, well, no, I'm just, Sue had mentioned about just the need to detox our mind, how important that is. So, okay, so I have been working on detoxing my mind and tune in to the messages from within, void of my own anxiety. Good, keep doing that. But there's something in it. There's some genius in that for you to do an extraction. Everything is gold in our lives, everything. And if by asking ourselves the key questions of what was it that I was intending to teach myself in that situation, is such a powerful self-inquiry. And it's going to take a little practice, because that's a big question. And it also assumes that we're in the same cosmology about we create our own reality. And if you don't already believe that, then we need to be having another kind of conversation. So, but I believe everybody here is probably going to be on that same path. I know that I'm gifted to counsel, teach, and make others better by quieting my, very good. So even more motivation to find your groove within that, because that so-called wound, and I love that Rumi quote as well that Sue mentioned, that the movement of that energy from turning it from just being stuck as a wound into your genius is the key with being able to set yourself free so that you can help other people. Mm-hmm. That's one of the main things I had to learn as a kid. I was totally tortured by all of the intuitive senses. I saw reptiles in my living room because of who my father was doing business with, and all of these things. And my whole story is on Gaia. But the point is that I was so angry for so long at my parents for not seeing what was really going on with me and not helping and being overburdened. And my father was in jail pretty much my whole life. And so what I had to extract from that is that, oh, my intuition has actually not only saved my life, but it saved many others. It saved my brother. It saved members of our family, friends. I used to say to my mom, you have to call this person right now. I was like 10. And it turned out somebody had a gun pointed through her window, and she needed to get out of the way. So she went to go answer the phone. Bullet came through. She would have potentially gotten hit. So point is that these things that can feel a little bit torturous, just follow them. Just have a willingness. There's a surrender that's actually really wanting to take place. And our resistance is usurping all of our energy, and it stops us from moving forward. So just have a willingness, just be willing, and have a prayer that says, you know what, I don't know the way, but show me the way. I'm willing.
Mm-hmm.
And just let that river take you. It's so much better. It is so much better. Take it from, I did it for my whole life. I was a reluctant healer. I didn't want this freaking job of being a medical intuitive. I didn't want to know that information, but it's what I'm here to do partially. So anyway, I hope that's helpful.
I love that. I can so relate with that, Tiffany, that you're saying, which is like there are so many things that as healers or empaths, I mean, there is a journey of like first saying no to your gifts, because like I don't want to be listening to that. I don't want to be feeling that.
I don't want to be different than everybody else.
Yeah, I don't want to be different. For me, it was like, I don't want to be feeling what that other person is feeling. Oh my God, it's so overwhelming what that other person is feeling that if I get close to them, it's like I get so overwhelmed with maybe it's anger. I can feel it, like I can feel it in me. It's like this resistance. But once I start like embracing them and I allow my own channels to be fully open, what happens miraculously is that other person actually enters into my own energy field, and we are able to transmute it together just by the presence. I mean, just by presence, and I can feel it. And all of a sudden they start crying, and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'm out of duty. But now I have to work. Yeah. And then I actually remember that that's what I came here to do on this earth. So it's so much easier to actually embrace it.
That's very well said, Sue. There's a question here, but one quick note. It's the surrender is where the real change can come in. It was for me when I was depressed and freaking out, and then I started using this thing. It wasn't just put this on and everything was better. It was put that on and do the work, right? And start to surrender to whatever the plan is. That's the plan. It's not mine. I mean, I can have an ego attachment to it, but that's me trying to change things still, instead of just accepting that they are the way they are. I came here for a reason. This is the way that it is, and I don't know when anything's going to change. So just surrender. There's a message that came in. I found Renee's message. She said, my mom recently said that she's been feeling and seeing her mother, my grandmother, in the last month or so. I know that people start to see their deceased loved ones as they are passing. Only I don't feel like my mom is lost to. Excuse me. Only I don't feel like I'm going to lose my mom anytime soon. She says she's ready to go with all the negativity of the world and in our family right now, but I believe that she will be okay. Is my nanny communicating with her, letting us okay? Or should I be concerned that my mom is fading away? I'm 45, she's 69. We lost Nanny in 2017. I see my nanny and granddaddy in Cardinals visiting. She never believed in such. Could she be actually waking up, or should I be planning for her demise? Is basically the paraphrased question. Does that make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you right now, the world is shifting. Energy is shifting. It is very, very possible that your mother is definitely starting to wake up and tune in. You can't help but tune in anymore. The question is, people have to ask themselves is, what are they tuning into, right? It's like all of a sudden, all of the radio antennas all over the world just got cranked up by 1,000%. Now the question is, what are you tuning into? Your mom may be tuning into that. That doesn't mean that she's not going to pass, and it doesn't mean that she is going to pass. It just means that the energy is so heightened right now everywhere for everyone, and you can see it. You know, their energies run in 11-year cycles, and they have to do a solar flex. This is a bunch of training that I did with HeartMath Institute and Roland McCready, who's the lead researcher there. I was just blown away by how this works. But even more, you know, part of where we're at in the Kali Yuga is also present. So there's a lot of variables at play right now. So to answer your question directly from my own perspective, I would not be worried, because regardless of what the answer is, it's perfect, you know. But you have to just let your mom live her life and help guide her and help her to understand what she's might be going through. And that may be the message for you is, hey, I'm going to process this with my mom, and that'll bring us closer together. And regardless of the outcome, maybe that's the beauty in the scenario. So Sue, Tiffany, what do you guys think?
I'll
I
just
love
add
that.
that, yeah, thank you for that interpretation. Sorry, Sue, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
That sometimes death isn't really death in these kind of symbolic ways. It's a transformation and a transmutation. And death isn't really death anyway. We're just kind of going from a material world to a non-material world and waiting for the next assignment. But take this as a gift for the communication, and what's naturally coming in is a point of contact. And death can also be a rebirth. So if there's meaning that in our lives, there are transition times, and those transition times are ultimately meant to give us kind of a rebirth of a new renewal. Go ahead, Sue.
No, I think, like, I mean, both answers are so spot on. I feel like yes, maybe if you are transitioning, I mean, the veils get thinner, but like right now, as we are shifting, as humanity is shifting, the question is more like, we are all waking up, whether you want it or not. We're all like having this like senses heightened, and it's more about what are you going to do with them, and how are you going to learn to actually, you know, manage these gifts. Because I mean, what's coming through, this is only the beginning. And as we are going to experience this like more often, and it's going to be even more powerful, and it is time for us to start saying yes to this and being like, yes, I feel all of this, and this is happening right now, and I need to actually get spot on and learn how to utilize these gifts that I'm getting.
Super true. All right, let's do 2 more questions if you guys don't mind, and then we'll close it down. You guys each want to answer one, and whatever you choose. There's plenty of them still in here, but I want to honor everyone's time, of course.
That's in the Q&A?
There are some in the Q&A, and there's some also in the general chat. There's one that just came in from an anonymous attendee again.
There is advice of being an empathic person in family with demanding parents, energetic vampires. I feel that boundaries, setting boundaries to whoever it is. Sometimes, yes, if you are empathic, people want to take from you, but you have to set your boundaries. This is why I do so much work with like the spirit realm. And in this case, I actually work with spirit animals because they bring a specific frequency or vibration that I need to embody at that point. And so there is like this one spirit animal that I work with, which is the bear. And it's like presence and boundaries. And all this means is that I am waking up these like things that I need to actually wake up within myself to create that presence and those boundaries and be like, right now I can't deal with this, or no, like this is not the time, or why am I allowing this person to take this energy from me? Because if something that I've learned in my trainings is that if something is taking energy from you, is because you are allowing that to happen. I mean,
you're literally giving it to them. No one takes anything from you. You voluntarily provide it and say, I give you power and dominion over me. And this is where you're like, okay, so when you think about vampiric lore, right? There's no like, if you think about energy vampires, right? And that statement's used, and it's specific for a reason. I think that all of these things have a root in actual truth. And when a vampire tries to enter your home in vampiric lore, you have to say, come in.
Yes, come in. Exactly.
Yes. So this is really about, what are you giving away? And what I've found for myself, and we talk about this a lot in the course too, is, hey, when you are surrounded by people who are sucking your energy, most of the time it's because you have a trigger around their activity that you need to surrender to, because eventually you can be around anybody. You can be around the biggest energy sucking people in the world. You just don't care because you're just like, that's cool.
You're
That's part of what,
protected.
yeah, I'm good.
You're
This is
good.
his
You're
journey. That's her
protected.
journey. It's not my
Yeah,
journey.
exactly. Not my journey. That's like, I mean, unless you willingly surrender to that, and that's when you say, like, okay, well, I mean, why did I choose to say yes to this if I knew that I had to take care of my energy? Or like if my energy levels are really low, of course, I'm not going to engage in giving sessions one-on-one, because I first need to honor myself to actually be able to honor you. So, I mean, that is a very important thing to do, which is like setting boundaries and rules and schedules. And I'm actually like really firm with that, because I mean, even like my teachers, like my shamanic teachers, they say to you, if you don't want to receive dreams, like, or messages in your dreams, you can say, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy. And so like I have this one teacher, and he says to me, like, Sue, like, I actually do not operate in my dreams because I like to rest. And so he only receives messages in office hours. And I'm like, wow.
I'm the same. I cut that off a long time ago because I had prophetic dreams, and then I was always concerned that I was causing these things. So I had to stop that method of communication. And it's just, I'm receiving all the time so much, just give it to me straight. So that's, yeah.
You can ask for clear messages. You can ask for whatever it is that you want. You just need to ask. Like sometimes it's about not knowing that I can ask, but like you can ask. You can be like, hey, the message is not clear enough. Can you please be clear? And the universe responds even clearer. And then you're like, okay, now I understand.
I'm going to throw one little piece in here, and then we'll call it a session. For those of you guys who are sitting here listening, still going, I want that. How are they doing all of that? I want to be able to do that. Here's a shortcut. I learned this shortcut by accident. Everybody's got one of these, right? For the most part, or an alarm clock. There's a wonderful little button on here that will get you all of the answers that you need from the spirit and dream realm anytime you want them. Here's what you do. When you go to bed tonight, you set your alarm. Set it for a crazy time. Doesn't matter. 4 a.m. is a good time because you have a high amount of melatonin in the system. There are lots of reasons anyhow, but you don't care about the science. Here's the important part. Set that alarm. When the alarm goes off, hit the snooze button or just turn it off. But that's the moment that you ask your question. So I always used to ask a question right when I went to bed. But when you hit snooze and you're in that quasi state and you're like, oh, hit it. What do I need to do about this job thing tomorrow? Go back to bed. Answer. And I kid you not, it is amazing how quickly you get an answer from, I used to call it snooze your way to success because I come up with cheeky crap all the time. But you literally can just hit that snooze button, ask your question, get an answer. You don't have to be a shaman. You don't have to study. You don't have to do any of this crap. Just use that totally. Yes, exactly. Tiffany says it. It's the hypnagogic time.
And
right,
it's also hypnopompic. So you can do the same thing right before you go to sleep. Yeah. And you will have it sometimes in the dream state too. But hypnopompic and hypnagogic, it's a real thing. I love it.
There you go. I see. I don't even know real thing. I just know this. My intuition said, do this shit. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'll try that. And it works like crazy. So even if you can't do it, you just find a new way. So Tiffany and Sue, thank you so much for being with us. I hope you guys give some love to Tiffany and Sue in the chat. Thank you so much, you guys. Appreciate your handouts for everyone. You guys are amazing.
You are. Thank you. And thank you, Sue, for allowing this exchange and etc. So hopefully it's been of value to everyone.
Yeah, they're flooding in. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you all.
And
okay,
Sue. I mean, it was so beautiful. Like everything just like fully resonated. Like, oh, another sister to my sister pocket.
Right?
Exactly right. We are that.
Yeah, well, you'll have to somehow find a way to get up here on 222.
Yes.
That'll be amazing, right? Can you imagine doing this all live for multiple days on end, what we could do for people?
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful. Okay, everybody, really appreciate you. Have a great 11/11. Thank you so much for being with us, and we will chat with you all very soon. Bye.
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 Bye.